So today we're discussing how one can optimize one's destiny by applying the principles of the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna begins by telling Arjuna, if you die, you will go to heaven. If you live, you will conquer your enemies and rule the earth. So he leaves Arjun's future a little shaky. He doesn't tell him exactly what his future is. Elsewhere, he tells Arjun, Krishna tells Arjun, Vedaham samatitani vartmani charjuna bhutani cha bhavishyani mam tu vedna kaschana. He says, I know the past, I know the present, I know the future of all living entities. But me, nobody knows. So from telling Arjun that you could die in this battlefield and go to heaven, he goes on to say, I know your future. And having said that I know your past, your present, your future, you don't know me. He then goes on to give Krishna later in the Bhagavad Gita, Divya Drishti. He gives him divine vision. And giving Arjun divine vision, he demonstrates to Arjun how all his enemies are perishing before his eyes, and only his brothers and he remain. So first, he does not tell Krishna what the future is. He lets him believe that even if you die, it doesn't matter, you go to heaven. Then he goes on to say, I know the past, I know the present, I know the future of everybody. But he does not reveal the future to Arjun. Then finally, when he reveals his cosmic universal form, his Virat Swarup, he takes the opportunity to give Arjun Divya Drishti and reveals to Arjun what the future is. And then tells Arjun that anyway you can see that your enemies are defeated. You can see that your enemies are dead. Now, why don't you become a hero and be seen as being responsible for it? It's very unique. Krishna knows the future. He has decided the future. And yet, he wants you to optimize your destiny by becoming a hero in your life. The script has been written. The script of your life has been written. And the director has selected the script for your life. Having selected the script for your life, the director is now offering you an opportunity to follow his directions and become the hero in the movie, in the play, in the drama. So this tells us many things. It tells us that we have a destiny. You and I, we both have a destiny. Indeed, my friends, that destiny is the destiny of the big picture, of the Kurukshetra war and all the enemies of the Pandavas being destroyed. But he leaves to your Purusharth, or he leaves to your personal efforts the opportunity to become a hero in your life. So this is the uniqueness. So you should understand what is Purusharth and what is Prarabdha. So both of them exist. Purusharth is the result of your activity and actions in the past. And having performed those actions and activities in the past for self, those desires which you have cultured, nurtured, and deserved begin to manifest in your life. Why are you born to the parents you were born to? Why were you born in the city that you were born in? And if you look at the whole picture of your birth, you will understand that automatically a whole lot of things in your life were already set into play from the time you were born. I have a very simple way to explain Purusharth and Prarabdha. And I am offering this simple way to you. Whatever has happened in your life up till now, whatever is behind you, that is Prarabdha. And whatever lies in front of you, that is your Purusharth. So stop looking behind you. Do not look in the rear view mirror. And if you simply stop looking in the rear view mirror, you accept that whatever is happening by your prarabdha. Put in efforts. And by putting in efforts, you can make your destiny. Yes, the big picture has already been decided. But your role in that big picture, that's dependent on your purushartha. So there is a large canvas. And in that large canvas, there is that individual. And that individual is also supposed to play his role on that large canvas. You have been born for a purpose. Each of us, you and I, we are all born for a purpose. And our job is to fulfill the purpose of our creation with the greatest sincerity, devotion, and detachment that we can offer to God. If you decide to participate in your life lackadaisically, as a laissez-faire, as thinking that this is nothing, it's already going to happen. If everything is written here on my forehead, you will be a fool. Because nothing is written here on your forehead. Everything is written here in the big picture of life. And on your forehead is your purushartha, or the efforts that you put in to become a hero in your life. Krishna points out in the Bhagavad Gita that if you focus on him, if you are intent on him, if your mind and intelligence is surrendered unto him, if your heart and soul is committed to God, Krishna, then by the grace of God, you will cross over every obstacle that lies in front of you in life. And having crossed every obstacle that lies before you in life, you will triumph, you will win. But if you start thinking that I am the doer, then everything is finished. So it's very important for each of us to understand that at one scale we are limited. At another scale, we have huge opportunities. A simple example which I've given earlier, but I'm repeating now, is that of a bull who has a ring in his nose and a rope is tied to that ring, and that rope is tied to a peg in the ground in the center of the field. So you can graze around the peg, or you can stretch the rope. That's your choice. So the length of the rope is your prarabdha. Your opportunities lie within the length of the rope. But you may not take advantage of your destiny by not optimizing it. Therefore, it is necessary for you to learn to stretch the rope. And when you feel pain, when the bull feels pain, when the ring is tugging at his nostrils and is causing pain and stress, then the bull realizes that he has reached the end of his rope and he needs to restrain himself and remain within the confines of his prarabdha. So, my friends, there is a very important section, not in the Bhagavad Gita, although Bhagavad Gita points out the same things. There is, in fact, in the Yoga Vashisht, much later text. And in the Yoga Vashisht, he describes that the Purusharth and Prarabdha, destiny and your effort, are like two bulls who are banging their heads together. And whichever one is stronger, that will win. So if your Purusharth is greater than your Prarabdha, yes, you can win. You can overcome the limitations into which you were born. For example, if there is chalk on a blackboard, you can take a duster and you can wipe the chalk off. What is written on the board is your prarabdha, and that duster you and your efforts to remove that writing on the blackboard is your purusharth. Very simple to do. Then you have been given the job to clean a bathroom, which despite your best efforts is not getting clean. But if you use the bathroom acid to dissolve the dirt in the bathroom will become. This is the difference. Much stronger effort is required. If you are given a glass of very sour lassi, You just can't drink it. It's very difficult. No matter how much sugar you put in it, it is not going to change the taste. So you can take 2-3 bottles, 2-3 buckets of water, and you can dissolve that lassi in these 3-4 buckets of water so that you have very dilute chas. And suddenly you will be able to drink this. So also with your prarabdha, and so also with your purushartha. Some prarabdha is difficult to get rid of. Some prarabdha requires greater effort. And some prarabdha is almost impossible to get rid of, but you can dilute its effects so that you can make it tolerable. Well, there are people who say that nothing can stop me. I shall do everything. Nothing will come in my way. They're wrong. Yes, in the big picture, you're definitely restricted. For example, if you're born in India and you want to become president of the United States of America, not possible. Maybe your children can become, but you can't become because there's a law against it. Typically, the classic example is that of Arnold Schwarzenegger, the bodybuilder and movie star, who still wants to become president of the United States. He tried to get that clause removed, but did not succeed. Many efforts he made, but he did not succeed. But that did not restrict his efforts or Purusharth in political life. He became the governor of California. And of course, if he had chosen, he could have gone further. So it's important to understand that there are limitations in the big picture. But you as an individual person have an opportunity to become the hero of your life. Please understand that God is the director of the film of your life. And the script already exists. But still, although God is the director of your life, it is up to the hero of the movie to use his acting repertoire, to use his acting skills, to use his efforts to put on a fantastic performance on the stage, so that indeed the actor's performance is noted and is worthy of an award. So also with our efforts, with our inclination to use Purushartha, we can overcome Prarabdha and we can overcome so many of the natural obstacles that come in our way. And we can transform our lives when we engage in taking our destiny forward. The important point you need to make, I need to make here for you, is that whatever happens, happens by the will of God. Tena vina tranamapi na chalati. Not a blade of grass moves without God's consent. If the grass moves on the left side, it is by God's consent. If it moves on the right side, that is also by God's consent. And if you accept that, because there are things in your control which you can use Purusharths to overcome, and there are things that are not in your control, which is your prarabdha, which you have to surrender to. Once upon a time, there was a king who had a great devotee as his prime minister. And his prime minister wanted to see everything as the will of God. So whatever used to happen, he would tell the king, "O king, this is the will of God. Be happy. It's for your best." So one day, the king, while testing the sharpness of a new sword, accidentally cut himself on his left index finger, and this got infected. There's pre-antibiotic days. The tip of his finger got infected and finally became gangrenous and fell off. So now the king had lost the tip of his left finger, index finger. So when he came and stuck this under the nose of the prime minister, he said, "Is this the best thing? You think God has done this for my benefit?" And the prime minister, not wanting to disturb the king's mind, but yet he could not restrain himself from telling the truth. So he said, "Yes, king, even the loss of the tip of your left hand ring index finger is God's will, and it is for your best." So the king became so furious, he raved and ranted, picked him up by his collar, shook him, and put him behind bars, and forgot all about him. A week later, the king was traveling in the forests while doing what kings do, hunting for sport. And when he was hunting for sport, suddenly he was separated. And being separated, he was all alone. And he was captured and carried away by a group of tribals who lived in the forest. And to his horror, he realized that he was going to be sacrificed to their goddess. And when he was going to be sacrificed to their goddess, before the knife came on his throat, the priest noticed that the tip of his left-handed index finger was not there. So he said, "This man is not fit for sacrifice. Take him off, throw him away, send him back, send him free." And instead, they caught hold of another soldier of his whom they had also captured, and they sacrificed him. So when the king came back, he ran and got the prime minister released. And he got the prime minister released and he told him, "You were right. It was really done for my benefit." "How did you know?" So he said, "That is my faith." "But what about your being thrown behind bars for 1 week?" He said, "That was also God's will. Because I am like your shadow and I am never far away from you. And had they found you unfit because of your finger being incomplete, they would have looked around for the next person to sacrifice. And because I was your shadow and always near you, I would be there and I would have been sacrificed. So my being put in the jail by you was also for my benefit. And your finger being sacrificed, tip of your finger being sacrificed to infection, that was also for your benefit." So the king was fascinated and he turned to him and said, "Tell me more. Why do you believe this?" So the prime minister said, "Let me tell you another story." He said, "Once upon a time, there was a farmer who lived in a village. His farm was not far from a village. and he had only one son. One day his son successfully managed to trap a horse, and that horse was used on their farm. And everyone said, was wonderful, it's great. How nice that you have a horse and a son to plow your farm. This is called good luck. And the farmer said, good luck, bad luck, who knows? And one day that horse ran away. So all the villagers came to his farm and said, this is an occasion of great sorrow, that your only horse has run away, and you have so many acres to till. So again the farmer looked heavenwards and said, good luck, bad luck, who knows? And sure enough, that horse came back. And this horse came back with 15 female wild horses. So now the farmer had 16 horses. So all the villagers came to him and said, how wonderful, how great, how tremendous. God is great, God is kind. Chappad paad ke deta hai. He takes one horse and gives you 16. What can be greater than that? Again the farmer said, good luck, bad luck, who knows? And in trying to tame those wild horses, the farmer's son was thrown from the back of the horse. He broke his leg and he had to be put in bed for 1 year. Again, the villagers came and they told him, how terrible, you have 16 horses and only one son, and that son has broken his leg. So 1 year he will be out of commission. So the farmer again said, good luck, bad luck, who knows? In 1 month, the local king declared war on the neighboring kingdom. And declaring war on the neighboring kingdom, he forcibly enlisted all the young men in the district as his soldiers, except the farmer's son, whose leg was broken because he could not move. And in that war, all the young men from that district died. There was only one young man in that district to survive. And he was the one who had broken his leg. And that function of that leg he recovered within a year. And again, people came to him and said, what luck, yours is the only son surviving. And he said, good luck, bad luck, who knows? And he looked heavenwards. For indeed, a devotee of God knows that whatever happens is good luck. Na rishyati, na dveshati, na sochati, na kankshati. Shubha ashubha parityagi, yo mad bhaktaha na sa priya. The devotee of God, Krishna says in chapter 12, na rishyati, na dveshati. He neither is attached or loves something, nor does he hate anything. Na dveshati. Na sochati, na kankshati. He never aspires or hungers or desires for anything. And he never sorrows for what happens in life because he knows that Shubha, Shubha Parityagi. He has given up the concept of good and bad luck. He's given up the concept of what is good and what is bad. He understands that whatever happens to him happens by the will of God, and that will of God is always perfect. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Shishyate. That whatever God does is perfect and complete, and because He is perfect and complete, everything that comes from Him is also perfect and complete. So if you accept the perfection of God, if you accept that everything happens in the world by God's will, if you surrender to His will, actively surrender, not passively surrender, you actively surrender to His will, Maximize your purusharth within this world. You intuitively understand that God is guiding you towards your destiny. Ishvara sarva bhutanam videdeshe arjuna tistati brahmyan sarva bhutani yantrarutani maya. Krishna says that the Lord is seated in your heart and He is driving you onward towards your destiny. You are merely seated in a machine made of material energy. Tam eva sharanam gaccha sarva bhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prakshishi shashvatam. Surrender unto the will of the Lord who is guiding you towards your destiny. Use your full efforts and purusharth in that direction in a spirit of active surrender, and you will attain peace, perfection, and the supreme destination. I will pause here. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Good morning, sir. So our first question is, we can't control our prarabdha, of course, but we can control and change our destiny through our prusharth. So, but if everything is already fixed and decided, then how are we
I
really
already explained to you in this lecture
Yes, sir.
that nothing is fixed and decided for you. There's a big picture where things are generally decided by God. But in everyday efforts, you are liable to become successful.
Okay, sure, sir. So with that, moving to another question. So how can one develop purusharth in oneself?
You don't have to develop Purusharth, you have to engage in Purusharth. Purusharth means effort. So how do you develop effort? By just doing it. That's what Nike's slogan says, no, just do it. So Purusharth means just do it.
Okay, sure, sir. I mean, a lot of people take a lot of time in thinking, and instead of doing, they plan but do not
Thinking is
execute.
the cause of all despair. Remember this. Write this on a poster and stick it on the wall of your room. Thinking is the cause of all despair. Action is the solution.
Exactly. Sure, sir. So with that, moving to today's last question. So it is, what is once done cannot be undone. So through Purusharth, do we really change the effect of our prarabdha or the prarabdha itself?
I told you that most of the things in the big picture are already constrained by prarabdha. But overall, you have tremendous leeway in your prarabdha. Very few people stretch the rope. Most people graze around the peg. So if you put in the effort that is required, you can overcome most, if not all, of the obstacles that you see before you. And Krishna says, I've already given you that verse. Chetasa sarva karmani mai sanyasya matpara buddhi yoga upashrita machit satatam bhava. Machit sarva durgani mat prasada karishyasi atho chetam ahankaran na shrashyasi vinanchasi. If you constantly are engaged in worshipping God, your mind and intelligence is surrendered unto Him. Your heart and soul is dedicated unto Him, and you strive with great determination. Then by God's grace, you will overcome every obstacle in your path. But the moment you think you are doing something, then everything is finished.
Basically, when we try to control, so it is not that we can control it. It is we have to surrender instead of trying to control.
What is within our control, we can certainly control it. If it's beyond our control, we just continue making efforts until God gives us a sign that we are moving in the wrong direction.
Okay. Sure, sir. So, sir, these were our questions for today's session, and thank you so much for such a wonderful session, sir. And
Hari
yeah,
Om, Jai Shri Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna, sir. Thank you so much.